So, my fellow Australians, I've decided that during the last of my time here, I'm going to show you how Australian hostages are treated in the city of Canberra. I'm on order to sign a document at at the moment it's the Wodonga Police Station, and on Tuesdays, and it said JP on duty. Last time I picked like Justice of the Peace on duty, and he was like he looked exactly like Gary Cairns, and he just eyeballed me. I thought, fuck, it must be Freemasons giving you drugs. Like, I believe, and this is why I think the decriminalization of drugs has, uh, if you were to just get to a hypothetical argument, the drugs are going to be necessary for certain people in certain circumstances, then to make sure to have it so that only cunts in connection with land right owners are the ones that have the monopoly on providing those drugs, means that anyone's vulnerable to the extortion. It means that everyone is thankful to them for the drugs that they get, whether they're cops, whether they're camera assistants, whether they're DJs, whether they're whatever they are. And it means they're always in their gratitude. But it means if there's a conflict, what happens then? What happens if you're on a suburb owned by Freemasons and all the drugs that you get because of Freemasons? Then and a Freemason wants to survey you fingering your anus for him because his voice hasn't quite broken yet, because his name's Roger Muckby Nelson Toll from Capital Chemist, the co-founder of Capital Chemist. His voice hasn't quite broken yet, so he quite does like it if he surveys you on speed, fingering your ass for him. And what then? And what then? Are you going to do that for him then? Are you going to be his faggot on that day? Just because you're going to go, well, all those years of drugs, suppose he should get his piece. Fuck that, and fuck that. Like, all these drugs, more than 90% of the market of current anesthetics used to numb regions of the body prior to surgeries are derivatives of cocaine. Xylocaine, benzocaine, lignocaine. They're all what they. But when I say derivatives, I mean synthetic derivatives. Like, they've taken the molecule of cocaine, have gone, well, if they use it, they'll get high. But they'll also get numb. If we tweak the molecule in such and such fashion, they'll get numb and not high. And so that's what you have to remember. All these cunts can't make pharmaceuticals out of your prayers. I don't respect them much. Because what I've worked out is, like, can someone tell me why? And you're gonna wish I spent most of my time here whinging about going, well, I want to slit the Queen's throat and fuck the wound, something to do with the murder that she's trying to feed everyone every Sunday 2,000 years ago, and it's been a curse on human rights ever since, blah, blah, blah. You're gonna wish I was talking about that if I bring up this drug topic. Because, and yet, we co-evolved with these substances. And the only reason that they have an effect on the brain is that the receptors evolved inside our bodies for them. And that can't have happened if it were not for millions of years of interaction, or thousands of years of interaction between these substances and our heads. And pharmacy has gone, well, these boring Freemason academics who probably bought their way through their grades more than anything else, sure have the right to say what a person too happy is. What? let's say you get the head of the Freemason Church right now, and I'm so happy that I could fuck his wife. And he says, well, cut that guy off from all of his substances because he's going to fuck my wife. Is that a conflict? What if all fair in love and war? And plus they've got the underground. So if Americans can have the underground, sing Hey Jude like a Beatles fucking wannabe faggot, painted up like a singer for Kiss, to his wife at a staff conference, and I say to you, no, Gary, give me proper, pure, uncut drugs, and I will fuck your wife. Both of those things I can do, and can do better than you. I put that to you, and I put it to you furthermore that if you're biased towards me when I assert such a position, you're going to only try to extort me by way of the chemicals I'm able to get hold of. How can that be anything but a personal bias? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Gary Cairns already sung his own wife away to the fucking Navy over a decade ago. I mean, out of all the kids that Gary Judy Cairns had, how many did she push out of her urethra shaft cock? Probably. Then again, if they're all as whingy as him, or half as whingy as him, for some reason I sense more guts in Judy than Gary, from my knowledge of Cairns' family. But what I'm trying to say is that within a given population, if you cut off a certain amount of substances, then as a consequence of that, for every relativity for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. The equal and opposite reaction of taking a chunk of substances, cutting them off altogether from a population, is that you're then going to have a bunch of people who go, wow, we can get jobs describing illnesses of all these new kinds, like, just come up with all these names, like paranoia, Durka Muhammad Hada Paranamasium, paranoia, paranoia, psychosis, vaginosis, osmosis. And they will do that. And Big Pharma will do that. I know Big Pharma well enough to know they'll do that. What they want you to know is if you work your way up in that chain, is that what, and I think it's an extortion of the Hippocratic Oath. Because the Hippocratic Oath is to do no harm. But what they're trying to negotiate there is that, well, what harm is it not to inform a person about their rights? And I say, well, that then is harm. I mean, if you taught someone that the word harm, or that no harm, if you were born and bred and raised getting taught that the words no harm together meant that a priest can stick a dick in your ear every Sunday, then you'd be like, yeah, no harm, no harm. You'd hear your peers going, no harm, it's a Hippocratic Oath, and you'd be like, fuck off, no harm, I want harm, and you'd want to get away from. So it all comes down ultimately to the common understanding of the definition of terms being, I guess, monopolized on. And so what's the scope and role and limitations of a doctor's job insofar as the Hippocratic Oath is concerned? Do no harm within the relative parameters of what? It shouldn't be that. It should be do no harm. That's it. Otherwise, if it's up to you, like, they should even be informing you. I think doctors should even be informing patients, saying, here's the scope and range of options potentially available to you because of your circumstances. And I think if your doctor isn't doing that for you, then you don't deserve to pay them. They don't deserve to have you pay them. Because look, read Hippocrates' book. His whole idea was about not using privilege of awareness of medicine to do harm. And big pharma is in the middle saying, well, that no harm's done if no one knows. And that's failure on doctors and big pharma combined. But it is providing new avenues for new types of medicine designs, in my opinion. And a decade's worth of work if you want to interview me about it further. Fuck you!